There is a lively debate questioning what Hillary Clinton really stands for. Perhaps the Caribbean island of Haiti can provide some insight. The Democratic presidential candidate, whose husband chairs the Clinton Foundation, has recently been advocating for a minimum wage increase in the United States. However, a WikiLeaks report reveals that back in 2008-2009, when she held the post of Secretary of State, she opposed minimum wage increases in Haiti. The wage hike could have been an important step forward for a country with one of the highest rates of poverty and inequality in the Western Hemisphere. Instead, under Clinton's guidance, the State Department colluded with foreign corporations benefiting from sweatshop labor to pressure the Haitian government to veto a wage increase approved unanimously in the country's parliament. Now, just months later, in January 2010, Haiti was hit by a devastating earthquake, resulting in the deaths of roughly 200,000 people. Well, the Clinton Foundation was responsible for channeling some $6 billion meant to assist the survivors on the island. So where did the money go? Well, the Clintons' first act was to provide what they claimed were hurricane-proof emergency trailers, which they say could also have been used to school the island's children. Didn't turn out too well. The trailers were laced with a cancer-causing chemical, formaldehyde, which gave the students and teachers headaches and allergic reactions. And it turns out that the trailers were distributed by Clayton Homes. That's a company being sued in the US for providing the same type of shoddy trailers after Hurricane Katrina. They're also a past campaign contributor of Hillary Clinton herself. So what does Clinton stand for? We'll let you decide. Questioning what Hillary Clinton
Got a couple minutes. Couple of minutes. I'm still pulling some stuff up, and I'm early. But wildness in Haiti. Very sad. Cannibal Utopia. What? Criminal gangs augmented with recently released convicts are roaming the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince, unleashing what can only be described as a zombified hellhole. What? There's no way this is accurate. The gangs are breaking prisons and recruiting hardened criminals into the ranks who are now committing the most savage and indiscriminate barbaric acts on the citizenry. Where's the cannibalism, though? Astora, good to see you. Reason why they're reporting on cannibal gangs eating people in Haiti is because there are cannibal gangs eating people in Haiti. Interesting. You're so bright and happy, Pastora. It's always such a beautiful thing. Let me. Yeah, this will be perfect. How are you? It's just you and me. It's just you and me, which is not a bad place to be. For me, at least. Maybe for you. Maybe for you. Being stuck with me solo is never fun for the other person, I feel like. But for me, I feel very happy about it. There's Ghost. Oh, Rodriguez is here too. Okay, well, that's enough for me. Everybody who matters is here. And hopefully anybody who's not here doesn't see that later. So here's the I kind of I don't know. Maybe this is just me, and maybe this is my personal bias leaking through a little bit. But I saw this and I kind of felt like how I did when Israel happened in October, and we shifted from the normal Bible study to kind of talking about that and like what was going on. Just general like understanding of it, because I feel like a lot of people don't ever get the news because they're just not like plugged into it. And I feel that way because I was one of those people for a very long time. And then yeah, I don't know much of what's going on. So I feel like you should, I guess is the thing. And being somebody who just wasn't, I now later in life, now that I am, I'm like, how can anybody not know that these things are happening? Israel and Palestine, like everybody eventually found out. I feel like you can't get away from it now because American politics are so heavily involved. Haiti's an interesting one. One, I have kind of a personal connection to Haiti because one of the very few people I would call like a friend since I became an adult and made a very big transition in life from being a total piece of garbage human to being like a decent guy. He lives there, and I've been trying to get a hold of him today, and I can't get a hold of him. I'm sure he's fine, but he lived near Port-au-Prince, which is where all this is happening. And he was a Christian missionary who went there at this point like 15 years ago. But he went there on a mission for like 6 months, and then he just never left. So he went there for a very short mission, him and his wife at the time, and he just didn't ever want to leave. So he set up shop there. Literally, he was a tattoo artist in Haiti, and he was just like the greatest guy ever. He was great humor, but also like a super diligent, extremely educated Christian theology guy. He was just like the best of the best, man. Like great personality, really good guy, and just like it takes a special kind of person to go on a mission somewhere really rough by American standards, really rough, and be like, yeah, I'm not leaving. I'm just gonna stay here. This is home now. And he's gone through all sorts of crazy stuff since he's been there because he's one of very few white people who are there, and people know who he is in the area that he's in. So like he's been robbed before, and like I think if I remember right, he had like because there's no running water where he is, so like he had the rain catcher thing on the top of his house. He's had like that stolen off his house before, and I'm sure a million other things that he and I just never talked about, but it's just kind of a wild like concept for even for me, like for me very much. I think I would have a very hard time going somewhere like that. I think I could do 6 months. I think maybe I could do a year, but I think at a point I'd be like, man, I really want to go back to the comforts and the luxuries of America. And he just wasn't that kind of guy, and it makes perfect sense. And he was totally happy, happiest dude you've ever met. He felt like it was home. It was where he wanted to be, and he had no interest in leaving whatsoever. So maybe that's a bit of a bias of why this is like bugging me so much and why I feel a little bit more connected to it than maybe other people do. But I think regardless, what's happening there is quite a big deal, and it goes back to the U.S. And in my opinion, based on what I know about it, is that the U.S. is at fault for virtually all of it. And it's one of those situations where the US got involved. Similar, it has a similar vibe to Ukraine, where we essentially aid in the destruction of it because there's a lot of money in that. We make it look like we're helping. And then we aid in the reconstruction of it because there's a lot of money in that. And then we just abandon them. And this is what a lot of people are fearing from what's going on in Ukraine, that we are obviously aiding heavily financially in the actual war itself, which in a sense, if you actually look at it, all we're doing is destroying Ukraine. That's the reality, regardless of ideology, regardless of anything else. What's happening is Ukraine is being decimated. Ukrainian people are being decimated. The country, we have already, the contracts for the rebuilding of Ukraine have already been given out to BlackRock and to Chase Bank and to all of your key players that you would guess would get the contracts to rebuild it. It's the cycle is just repeating. We've done it 100 times. It's what the United States does. And so Haiti is the same, but different in that the history wasn't necessarily from war. The history was from the earthquake. So there was a massive earthquake in Haiti in 2010. It was a worldwide catastrophe because everybody knew about it. Everybody knew about it. It's a huge deal. And who got involved from the US? The Clintons. And regardless of how you feel about them, could have been anybody, but it happened to be the Clintons. So a lot of this, we'll get into some of that later. But what is happening in Haiti? Here's what to know. Criminal gangs more powerful than Haiti's state security forces have attacked prisons and the airport, serving the country's capital, forcing businesses and schools to close and driving an estimated 15,000 people from their homes in Port-au-Prince, which is a major part of Haiti. Port-au-Prince is like one of the only areas probably people who don't know anything about Haiti have heard of, is Port-au-Prince. It's a key spot. The UN's top human rights officials warned Wednesday that the situation in Haiti was, quote, beyond untenable, noting that more than 1,200 basically, people had been killed since the start of 2024 alone. It's about 2,000 people. I'm sorry. It's about 1,200 people in the matter of like 2 months, roughly, which is a lot of people. That's a lot of people. I feel like we downplay the numbers of deaths when things like this happen. That's a lot of human beings. If you were to line up 1,200 people down a street in Chicago or down a street in New York and just watch each one fall and die, maybe that's a better image because it portrays the actual gravity of it. I feel like a bit more than saying 1,100 people died. Like, no, picture it for a minute and then think about it. That's catastrophic. It's a lot of people who are connected to other people who are kids or have kids. It's like, make it personal a little bit, make it personal. But the chaos and bloodshed started long before that in the small, deeply impoverished Caribbean nation. An international effort to send help have thus gone nowhere. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk called for the urgent deployment of multinational security forces to back up Haiti's Belarus police and military, saying there was no realistic alternative available to protect lives. I want to play this. But chaos unfolds in Haiti as Caribbean leaders call an emergency meeting for Monday. Freaking advertisements, just wait. The gang stuff is crazy, but the long and short of it is that the government has been overthrown almost entirely, but not quite entirely. Police stations are being attacked. The U.S. embassy has been evacuated. We're out of there. And the gangs have begun to pull people out of the prisons. So the gangs are going to the prisons, opening them, and pulling people out. And then they're recruiting high-level criminals to join the gangs. So the gangs are literally running the show at this point.
Is threatening civil war and genocide if the country's prime minister does not step down. Haiti has seen widespread gang violence over the last week with attacks on prisons and even the international airport there in Port-au-Prince. The nation's prime minister, Ariel Henry, landed in Puerto Rico last night. He was in Kenya when violence first broke out. Henry and Kenya's president signed agreements last week to send Kenyan police officers to Haiti to take on the gangs. For more, we're going to bring in Jacqueline Charles. She's the Haiti and Caribbean correspondent for the Miami Herald. Jacqueline, thanks for your time today. Just bring us up to speed on the big picture of why gangs are taking issue with Ariel Henry. And I'm wondering if there's any indication as to who or what they want to replace him with.
Well, you're asking a very important question, and that's what everybody in the international community who have been following Haiti are asking. What we do know is that they are opposed to any outside international force. So the fact that this violence blew up while Ariel Henry was in Kenya signing what Kenyan President William Ruto says is the final step that's needed in order to begin that deployment is quite interesting in terms of the timing. What we've seen is that they have targeted key government infrastructures, not just the country's two largest prisons, where there was a prison break. More than 4,000 prisoners have escaped, including some notorious gang members. They've looted hospitals. They've looted banks. They've flown a drone over the presidential palace and saying that that's next. And meanwhile, Ariel Henry, who was trying to get back into
Point is they've taken things over for the most part. So Rodriguez asked, when did the U.S. Embassy evacuate? Here's that. The U.S. military airlifts embassy staff from Port-au-Prince amid Haiti's escalating gang violence. This was today. Today, the article came out. I believe they were taken yesterday. Well, let's see if it says. The United States military conducted an overnight operation Saturday into Sunday. There you go. To evacuate American personnel by airlift from the U.S. Embassy in Haiti as violence escalates in the capital, Port-au-Prince, and across the Caribbean country. The U.S. Southern Command said in a statement Sunday. Additional security was deployed as part of the operation, officials said. At the request of the Department of State, the U.S. military conducted an operation to augment the security of the U.S. Embassy at Port-au-Prince, allow our embassy mission operations to continue, and enable non-essential personnel to depart. The U.S. Southern Command said in a statement to CBS News on Sunday morning. Airlifting U.S. personnel into and from the embassy is consistent with the military standard practice for enhancing security at embassies worldwide. There were no Haitians on board the aircraft during the airlifts, according to the military. Our embassy remains focused on advancing U.S. government efforts to support the Haitian people, including mobilizing support for the Haitian National Police, expediting the deployment of the United Nations Authorized Multinational Security Support, MSS, mission, and accelerating a peaceful transition of power via free and fair elections. The Southern Command said, as announced in September 2023, the Department of Defense is posturing to provide robust enabling support for the MSS, including planning assistance, information sharing, airlift, communications, and medical support. So overnight, from last night to today, it seems like they were pulled out at that point. Looting hospitals, looting everything. I want you to picture this, honestly, because this is the only reason, very few things cancel Bible study. This is why I think this is one of them. Haiti has a very rich culture. If you don't know a lot about Haiti and you care at all or you're interested at all, find a video that kind of goes over the cultural history of Haiti. I have my little personal bias with it because I know someone from there, but it's really, really rich. How they got the culture that they got is actually really interesting. It's kind of this odd melting pot. The language is beautiful. It's like this. It's mixed with French. It's really odd because of the way that the area was developed. But it's beautiful and it's very, very cool. And so to see what happened with the earthquake in 2010 was catastrophic, and people really cared, which tells you something. There's something there. And then as a Christian, I would say look into some of the Christian history that involves Haiti. There's some apocryphal text that some of you are interested in that they have history in Haiti. So it's interesting to also see the kind of the Christian history side of things. But regardless, they had a good culture. It's always been a very impoverished area. They've always had their problems. Anywhere that's highly impoverished usually has some kind of overbearing gang activity. And to some degree, from what I understand, it's been present since the earthquakes much more heavily than it was prior to the earthquakes. But it was definitely there prior as well. But after the earthquake, all the catastrophe, anybody who can manipulate something, they're going to manipulate it. Anybody who can grasp for more power is going to grasp for more power. So after the earthquakes, things got a little bit worse, but they found some stability. The problem is that after the earthquakes, we got involved and we ended up making things a hell of a lot worse. But we'll get to that. So President of El Salvador, and if you don't know anything about him, there's humor behind this, but I think he's dead serious. President of El Salvador offers to, quote, fix Haiti. The Haitian government has reportedly collapsed and gangs have taken over the country after multiple massive jailbreaks released thousands of criminals back into the streets. However, fear not. President Bukele of El Salvador, who experienced contained a similar situation in his own country, is happy to step in and, quote, fix it, if the world is willing to pay for the help. So here's his tweet. He said, we can fix it, but we'll need a UNSC resolution, the consent of the host country, and all the mission expenses to be covered. He did. They had similar issues in El Salvador because of poor government. There was a shift in power. The new president came in, and he has genuinely corrected course. They did things like implementing Bitcoin as a legitimate governmentally approved currency, and their economy is pretty damn good at this point. And this was just several years ago. So maybe you contract it out to somebody who's corrected the problem before. Haiti on the verge of collapse. You got a video here. And this is the one thing with the news, man. This is not what all of Haiti looks like. Just to be clear. This is one video showing a collection of streets, probably near Port-au-Prince or in Port-au-Prince, that are just very rough. There is also normal day-to-day still happening to some degree in many places. It's not all of Haiti that is just falling into an apocalyptic mayhem. After thousands broke out of prison, the capital of Haiti has fallen into lawlessness. The prime minister declared a state of emergency and imposed curfews, but this has not stemmed the rising chaos. Police stations are being hit, right? Like Rodriguez said, I think because they said it in the video, hospitals are being looted. Businesses are obviously already looted. It's think Summer of Love times 10,000 because there's no limit on what they're willing to try to go after. They've opened the prisons. They've pulled people out of the prisons. I believe there is a small... Bukele, he's such a badass. Yeah, I fear for his life too. But he's such a bad... He did a great job. Same with, what's his face in Argentina? I could never remember his name. Afuera. He's killing it. There's all of these smaller geographical areas. They seem to be kind of they seem to be figuring it out. Like, how do we get things back together? How do we bring our people back together? Which is really, it's enlightening in some way. But yeah, to a point, you got to fear for their life, at least a little bit. Haiti in chaos as armed gangs take over the capital. U.S. embassy staff evacuated. So we already kind of talked about that, but they were pulled out overnight, obviously from Saturday to Sunday this morning. Now, I want to preface this. Malay, right? It's Malay. Malay is Argentina. Afuera took the chainsaw to stuff. I want to preface this by saying, no, I don't like the Clintons. And no, it's not just Hillary. I don't like the family. I feel like the whole family is a bit rotten, to say it in the absolute nicest way possible, while trying to stay relatively objective. I think they're crooked. I think they're corrupt. I think so many more things and adjectives about them. But I want to leave it at that because I want to stay focused on actually this. Haiti government collapse. We have every reason to be mad. The Clintons have destroyed Haiti. They pretend to be our friends, but in reality, they are our number one enemy. The U.S. military have just evacuated non-essential personnel for the Haiti U.S. Embassy following government collapse and gangs taking over the streets. The Clinton Foundation has received millions to allegedly support Haiti. However, their involvement in Haiti is clearly not appreciated and again linked to some extremely sinister, disturbing stories involving young children.
Well, we have every reason to be mad because the Clintons have destroyed Haiti for the decades. And, you know, they pretend to be our friends when in reality they are our number one enemies. You know, there are some other people who clearly behave like they don't like us. So it's easy for us to protect ourselves against them because we know they are our enemies. But the Clintons are even more dangerous because they pretend to be our friends when in reality they're destroying Haiti.
Because I heard that the Clinton Foundation and all these other organizations gave over $6 billion to Haiti for the relief effort, especially during the kind of natural disasters that you guys have gone through. Is that true?
No, it's more than true. The money is much more than $6 billion. You see, after the earthquake, countries around the world donate billions of dollars. The amount was much larger than $6 billion.
All right, hold on. I want to read this to you. So on the left, you have a chart. 1.6 billion. Funds allocated for post-earthquake relief. 43% went to U.S. military operations. 7% U.S. Coast Guard and Homeland Security. 6% U.S. State Department to expand. God, I can't read that. U.S. military and police. And 44% other U.S. agencies. On the right, you have 4.16 billion. All funds allocated for Haiti since the earthquake. 45% went to U.S. corporations. 15 went to Haiti-based recipients. 3 went to all others, and 37 was other U.S. groups. So it was a. I mean, to say it in the lightest and simplest term, it's at best it's laundering, right? At best it's laundering, but it's much more than that. It's so much more than that. Glad he's calling them out by name. God protect him for speaking out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who that guy is, but I would assume it's just a random guy. So I think he's probably okay. He's probably got bigger worries where he's at. But if he's not just a random guy, then yeah, I'd be concerned.
And Bill Clinton was in charge of the money. And not only people around the world, but also American celebrities donate a lot of larger money to rebuild Haiti. And hundreds of homes were destroyed after the earthquake. And if you can believe, the people are still living under tents. That's unacceptable. And not only they held the money, they kept the money, but Haiti had enough resources for them to be very comfortable. Haiti have oil, more oil than Venezuela. Nobody's talking about. Haiti have gold. We have one of the largest gold mine in the Caribbean. So, and they let the world, nobody's saying anything about our goals. Yeah. And who do you think is in charge of our goal right now? The contract. Yeah. Tony Rodham, Hillary Clinton's brother. Wow. He's got a 26 years contract. And then also Haiti we used to produce our own rice. We didn't have to buy rice overseas. Bill Clinton destroyed our rice so his brother can sell the rice from Arkansas. Yeah, wow. So they're doing a lot of things. Right now, if there's a millionaire or a billionaire who wants to do business in Haiti, they cannot do anything unless they check with the Clintons. The Clintons are the one who's running Haiti. Yeah. And we are living in the 21st century. We are the first black people who liberate ourselves from the French rule. We fought 3 empires, the British, the Spanish, the French. So it's unacceptable for us to be occupied right now. They dropping disease in Haiti. They stealing our money. They stealing our resources. So we are out here. We are outraged for the crimes of the Clintons. Hillary Clinton have too much criminal records. She have no business running for president, especially for the news that came out in the email. Find out that the DMC made all these tricks in order to favor Hillary Clinton.
The question is, when it comes to Hillary Clinton's brother, how was he able to get that contract? How were the Clintons allowed to have such control of Haiti?
It's a family affair. Bill Clinton, the United Nations named him the chief guy who was in charge of rebuilding Haiti. and then while Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State. So it's a family thing. Chelsea Clinton, all the Clinton Foundation, they're just stealing money. And most of the money, I can tell you right now, I know they have a lot of speech for money around the world and for Wall Street, but most of the money they have right now is from Haiti, from the Haitians. And when they're letting the world know we are poor, let me give you one simple example. If you are super rich, and then I would go and tell the whole world that you are poor for years, for decades, and then everybody believes you're poor, and then I would come out and steal your money. And then you go and let everybody know I stole your money. They're going to think you crazy because everybody knows, the world knows Haiti is the poorest country when we are not. We are rich. Haiti used to call the island of Pearl. Haiti is still rich. So there are Haitian lawyers, Haitian doctors everywhere they are millionaires who wants to go and spend their money in Haiti. But the United States government, not only they stealing our resources, our money, they create kidnapping. Now we are even afraid to go to Haiti. You cannot walk in the streets in Haiti. And then what the Clintons, they own the hotel, they go everywhere, they do whatever they want. This is unacceptable. I myself, I'm ready to die. I want the whole world to know who the Clintons are. This have to stop. This have to stop. It's time for us to stand up. We cannot take this any longer.
Amazing information. Where can people find out more about the resources of how the Clintons ultimately now control Haiti? Is there a website? Is there any other information that you want to share?
You can go to YouTube. You're gonna see our videos. You can put you can put.
All right, I'm gonna drop the rest of this video in the News and Culture forum. It's titled Haiti and then today's date. If you want to watch the rest, that's about halfway through that one. Because I want to play this, and I want to play this all the way through. So if you're not here to be educated, tonight's not the night for you. And then after this, we'll just chat the rest of the time. I just, whatever you guys want to talk about, just kind of hang out. So Haiti is on the brink of collapse, and Clintons are a major benefactor that contributed to this man-made disaster. Post-earthquake in 2010, Haiti faced significant challenges, including relief scam associated with the Clintons. The mismanagement and connection with the Clintons led to the misuse of millions of taxpayer dollars, benefiting elites and exacerbating poverty for Haitians.
The ambassador to the U.S. has described the event as a catastrophe of major proportions.
So far, we have no information regarding the casualties.
The war is coming to an end.
It was a big earthquake. It lasts like 15 seconds, I think.
As loud as I can make it, so you might want to turn the volume up.
The humanitarian crisis that Hillary Clinton faced during her tenure at the State Department was the tragic earthquake in Haiti. It happened in January of 2010, and literally in a matter of seconds, 250,000 people were estimated to have died, and a large portion of the Haitian infrastructure and economy was just decimated. It was a crisis on a massive scale.
The United States is offering our full assistance to Haiti and to others in the region. We will be providing both civilian and military disaster relief and humanitarian assistance, and our prayers are with the people who have suffered, their families, and their loved ones.
In the days and weeks that followed the earthquake in January of 2010, Hillary Clinton made visits to Haiti.
And here's the latest on Haiti. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrived in Port-au-Prince just about an hour ago. She is the highest-ranking U.S. official in Haiti right now since Tuesday's earthquake. She's meeting with Haitian leaders and international officials to discuss the rescue and relief efforts.
In fact, on her first visit, which occurred days after the earthquake, they literally had to stop traffic going in to the airport at Port-au-Prince. There, of course, were relief supplies that were being flown in, but that traffic was stopped so the Secretary of State could come and assess the damage.
There is a perception, and there have been complaints or reports of bottlenecks, that there's a lot of aid coming in, but it's very hard to get it out to the people who need it.
That's just not true. The aid is coming in, we're getting it out, there's just not enough of it yet.
She flew in with her political aides on a large federal airplane. She landed at the airport, she made a large press conference, made statements about her commitment to rebuilding this country, and then she was soon whisked away, headed back to Washington, D.C.
Theirs is a city in ruins, a country which can do little but wait for help to arrive.
The international community responded in the way that you would expect it to. That is, large amounts of money were committed, up to $13 billion from international relief organizations.
And of course, you had the official role of the State Department,
which would be point on U.S. taxpayer dollars going to Haiti for the purposes of relief.
I want to assure the people of Haiti that the United States is a friend, a partner, and a supporter.
Hillary Clinton's State Department would oversee the reconstruction effort, with Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills responsible for the allocation of U.S. tax dollars through USAID. And Bill Clinton, already appointed Special Envoy to Haiti for the United Nations, was named co-chair of the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission, along with a former Haitian Prime Minister.
I hope it will be rebuilt in a much stronger and more sustainable way, and I think the Haitians want that.
So this was clearly a Clinton operation from the beginning. Now, the Haitians had their own ideas about how best to rebuild their country. They wanted new roads. They wanted buildings rebuilt. And that's what you would expect. This is how you recover from an earthquake. The problem is that the Clintons had their own agenda, the interests of major donors who had a vested interest in spending that money in Haiti in ways that would benefit them.
And so you immediately had this clash between the Haitians and the Clintons. And Haitians complained almost immediately that they were shut out of the decision-making process, that it was really Bill Clinton and a few of his friends that were calling the shots on the IHRC. And they made some monumentally bad decisions that not only didn't benefit the Haitian people, but ended up putting money in the pockets of major Clinton donors who had economic stakes in Haiti.
We have been united behind a single goal: making investments in this country's people and your infrastructure.
So it's a classic example of what some people call disaster capitalism. Disaster capitalism in that a natural disaster creates opportunities for rebuilding to take place, but also for self-enrichment to take place. And if you look at the Clintons and the promises that were made and the results that actually followed, it is a tragic story of crony capitalism gone awry.
The single largest relief project that the United States committed taxpayer dollars to, $124 million to be exact, was a project called Caracol, a textile factory that was built in the northern part of the country that was supposed to create some 60,000 jobs and was supposed to create tremendous economic growth.
There's a problem here already. You see, the earthquake affected the southern part of Haiti. The northern part of the country was entirely unaffected.
But who were the beneficiaries of this? Companies like Gap, Target, and Walmart, to name a few. The Caracol factory was built, but it didn't create 60,000 jobs. It created barely 5,000 jobs. But the major American companies who got textiles tariff-free, made at low wages, benefited enormously.
And the end effect on the Haitians was very, very minimal. If you look at some of the infrastructure projects that were undertaken, the Clintons had very grand plans to build large tracts of homes, and there were contractors that were selected for those projects. Sometimes the contractors had experience, sometimes they did not.
There's one company in Florida that spent $1 million getting equipment into Haiti. They had experience in disaster relief, but according to the owners of that company, they only made a small donation to the Clinton Foundation. And guess what? They didn't get any relief contracts. On the other hand, the contractors who did win the awards were given the opportunity to build homes, and in some instances were supposed to build tens of thousands of homes for Haitians. They ended up building a fraction of that. For instance, the New Settlements program was supposed to build 15,000 homes for $53 million. Instead, it built 2,600 homes, less than a quarter of the original estimate, for $90 million, or $47 million over budget.
And they got away with it.
So you had contracts going to these relief organizations that were also involved with the Clinton Global Initiative. And you had this one organization, Dahlberg, that was supposed to do an assessment for relocating people that suffered from the earthquake. They determined that people should be moved to a site that happened to be on a cliff that was highly unstable. USAID's Inspector General reviewed Dahlberg's recommendations and found them basically unusable. One member of the USAID shelter team was quoted by Rolling Stone magazine as saying that the recommendations were so bad, it looked like the team never even got out of their SUVs. Another person said that only one of the people that was sent to Haiti by Dahlberg actually spoke French.
Telecom mogul Dennis O'Brien is one of the world's richest people, and he's finding opportunities in the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. The Irish billionaire is the largest private investor in Haiti through his company Digicel, and he's now leading the Clinton Global Initiative efforts down in Haiti.
Probably no one came out better in the Haitian reconstruction effort than an Irish billionaire named Dennis O'Brien. He was a Clinton Foundation donor, giving them between $5 and $10 million. He helped arrange speeches for Bill Clinton, too.
The interest of the Obama administration, particularly the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, you know, all the different things that have happened to help Haiti get up off the floor have been led by the U.S.
And he was the owner of something called Digicel, which is a cell phone company at the time of the earthquake. As part of that relief effort, the State Department, run by Hillary Clinton, wanted to fund a mobile money transfer service that would allow Haitian citizens to transfer and receive money on their phones. Well, Digicel applied to be the recipient of that grant money. 4 weeks after their application, Digicel actually sponsored a speech for Bill Clinton in Jamaica, and they paid him $225,000. And as it turns out, within 4 months of that speech, Digicel would receive the first installment of that grant money. The earthquake actually has been great for Digicel and Dennis O'Brien.
More than 4 years since a magnitude 7.0 earthquake devastated Haiti, and outrage there is growing over the largely failed reconstruction effort, despite the hundreds of millions of dollars in aid that has been collected and spent by the IHRC, the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission.
So whether you're talking about housing or cell phones, you see...
Okay, you guys got the picture. I dropped everything in the forum. So everything we've touched, including something that Mikkel actually put in Culture and News earlier today. How the U.S. and France made Haiti poor, which is interesting. So if you have time and you're interested, then, you know, take a look at that. Yeah, the rest of this, I'm just going to drop in there so we can kind of leave it open. We could probably read a little bit, or we can just kind of BS for the night. I just wanted people to be aware that, one, this is kind of the U.S. is doing, and that there should be at least a slight connection in your heart when you look at this and you actually grasp the cycle of it and what is happening with Ukraine now. Whether you support us being involved in Ukraine or not, even if you do, you should think twice about how we're doing it. How are we involved? What are we actually doing with that whole process? And is there any chance that maybe the cycle will repeat? I don't gamble, but I take calculated risks for money. I would take that one for sure. That this will be very similar. Which is it's a very sad thing that people are just blind. Support. Cool, we'll support. If that's what you want to do, support. But demand that it be done in a different way. Because what we're doing is just repeating the cycle. And it ends up with a place like Ukraine, where now military-age males are disappearing. Both in a general sense and in an isolated sense. Many reports of men leaving to go to work and being kidnapped into the military. Many reports of men just really not being around anymore because they're bringing them back deceased. Women being forced into military activity. What will the end be? It will be decimated. Ukraine will be decimated as we launder money through it, which we were doing prior to the war. But now it's dumping money and people into it. We will decimate the entire area, and then we will get the contract to rebuild it because we already did. I showed that on a Saturday a week or two ago. The cycle just repeats. And people are so uninformed. And people get so caught up on the spectrum of, oh, well, I'm a Democrat, so I support this, or I'm a Republican, so I support this. Not like sometimes you need to shut the fuck up and stop with the bullshit of the sides and just be like, okay, what is actually happening? Whether I support it or not, fuck that for right now. What is actually happening? What are we doing? What is happening to the people that we're engaging with? Are we actually supporting them or are we hurting them? Are we helping them now, but will it destroy them later? It's like the old when Christian missionaries go places to do what they think is the right thing. What they're doing is, say they take a bunch of food, they take everything to feed people who don't have access to it for 6 months. And they do that and they're like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. We killed it. We're awesome. We're great Christians. These people are all super happy. They're not hungry anymore. They're loving life. We set up schools. Awesome. Then the Christians leave. Within 3 months, the food is gone. They don't have clean water. The schools fall apart. The gangs come back. And everything goes right back to how it was. And oftentimes worse. So you can be helping somebody short term. But sometimes helping someone short term actually fucks them up way more long term. And we ignore that. Then add bureaucracy into it. Then add political parties into it. Then add the corporate entities that get involved, like the Irish Builder. And it becomes an absolutely untenable situation of people literally just extracting money off the literal deaths of people. It's the most inhumane possible thing you could imagine because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's a small price to pay in their mind to achieve what they want to achieve. And it's a brutal thing. Yes, 100% shut the fuck up sometimes about the political bullshit. Just actually approach it like with the heart. Fuck Republicans, fuck Democrats, fuck everybody. And just approach it like a human, like a person, where none of that exists. Is this a good idea? Are we actually helping them? What will happen 2 years from now with what we're doing right now? Is it still a good idea? No. Then when you bring the politics into it, I think you're fucked either way, is the honest answer. I don't think we have anybody who's not selfish in a basically in a catastrophic sense. Like that's what our politics are. The whole system needs to be reworked. But as we've talked about it before, I don't know if you can, man. I don't know if you can. So we're like, all Americans are just put in the corner of you're voting for horrible people, basically no matter what, who don't have people's best interests in mind. I just put something in Culture and News that anybody who's politically inclined to any degree, I highly recommend you watch this. Whether you like Tim Pool or not, he annoys the absolute hell out of me most of the time. But this was really, really good. He has a bunch of staffers from DC come in. There's 3 of them, a woman and 2 men. The woman actually works for him now. But they come in and they talk about how does Congress actually work? It's all built on bribes. It's all built on bribes. And luckily, I listened to this podcast called what is it? I don't know. I'll find it. I'll put it in Discord later. But they're old DC guys too, and so they're always talking about kind of like the inside of what DC was actually like. How do things actually work? How does the oiling of the machine actually function? And so I've had a grasp on all this stuff, luckily, for a while now. But this was awesome. This episode of the Culture War was really, really good because it it was political, but for the most part, they were just talking about how does the machine run? And it's just straight corruption. It's nothing but corruption. It's at House of Cards is a documentary. Yeah, it's just straight corruption. It's money. It's bribing people. That's it. That's it. Any of the levels of Congress or the Senate that actually matter, like low level stuff, I'm sure there's a lot of it that's pure, people doing their damnedest, trying to make things happen, have good hearts, have good intentions for sure. But there are also the things that are kind of irrelevant to big picture. In the areas of relevancy, it's just fucking corruption. That's all that it is. Doesn't matter what side you are, doesn't matter what color you are, they're all just corrupt. That's what we live under. That's what you vote for. It's like the mafia, but without any sense of humor. That's pretty well put. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just like, it's very disheartening, but I think it's good that more people understand that, at least, and that influences you in some way of like how you approach politics and how you approach life. And I think to some point it has to make you a little bit less, oh, this is my side, these are my people, F the Democrats or F the Republicans. Because they're just as bad. They're both just as bad. There's no winning, actually. It's just which corrupt ass person do you want to put your name on is what it sadly kind of is. But it's really good. So if you're interested, I'd recommend watching it. It was a very interesting deal. It was a very interesting deal. All right. I don't have anything else. I'm just going to leave it at that. So anything you guys want to talk about, really, I'm down. We can call it right at 7 o'clock or so. Never stay loyal to any politicians. Yeah, you can't. You can't. But also never to a political party. Never to a political party. Because maybe eventually, someone will come along on either side who's just genuinely a good person. The problem is the system itself is so corrupt. They will destroy that so fast. So fast. That person will just be dismantled. I don't think it's possible. And that's what makes me feel very hopeless about our politics. That's my problem with it. Is I think you could have that great guy or great gal that comes in and is just like a solid person, has good views that for the most, benefit most people. You'll never ever please everybody. You'll never have policies that everybody in the US wants, especially now because we're so polarized. But if you could get somebody who's somewhat center enough that most normal people are like, I can at least tolerate that. I can tolerate that. That person will be destroyed because the entire system is built the way that it's built right now. And I don't think an individual person could come in and really shake the system. I don't know if they could. I'm not a political analyst, but like that's my view of it. Rodriguez says maybe, but many of us see the mess and are fed up. For sure. But the scary thing about that is like, so what? So what? So what if most Americans are fed up? We want something genuine, different for the people, etc. Yeah, but so what? I'm totally with you, but so what? Step 1, be fed up. Step 2, solutions. What's step 3? My answer is still going to probably be so what? Just to be clear. You can have, I'm 100% with you with every bit of my soul, but so what? If the entire system runs the way it does and everybody's making a shit ton of money, why would they care what you actually think? You know what I mean? What incentive do they have to actually change anything? How does that happen without some kind of actual collapse in the US, like of governmental structures? If the system that decides how the system works is corrupt, I don't see you changing the system. Like the Americans would have to revolt in an effective manner and as a whole. So Democrats and Republicans alike would have to come together and revolt. Otherwise, I don't see it happening. And I think they do a really good job of polarizing us. so that it's not about how corrupt they are. It's about how Rodriguez is a Democrat and I'm a Republican, and we're not supposed to be friends. We're not supposed to talk to each other. I'm supposed to despise her and she's supposed to resent me. I think they do a fucking fantastic job at that. They are winning at that game so hard. So hard. So I think until it becomes our government is corrupt, their job is to help us, not hinder and hurt us. And us as Americans, not as Democrats, not as Republicans, not as, independents or liberals, but us, sorry, it was just an example. It was just an example. But us as Americans are sick of your shit. We're done. Collectively, as a group, everybody holding hands together. It was just an example. Just an example. Just an example. That's the only way I say it working. I guess to be clear, Rodriguez told me she's not a Democrat. Okay, as somebody who at least from what you say are voting Democratic, from what I've gathered from you, will be voting Democratic. And if I'm wrong, then tell me I'm wrong. But I'd be very confused about our conversations if I'm wrong. I guess you don't have to vote, but if you're somebody who's going to vote, you could vote independent. You could. Nope, never. Oh my God, I'm so confused about what your political views are. But I guess maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. So my bad. Rodriguez is not a Democrat, nor is she voting Democratic. That was a slight. I apologize. I was totally wrong, and I'm very confused. But I'm comfortable being confused. But I am sorry. I never want to what would the equivalent of like misgendering be? Mispoliticize? I don't know. You'll hate me more, but I lean more towards socialism. Yeah, but like that's democratic. I mean, it's as close as you get, right? And there's no independent candidate that's about socialism. Republicans sure as hell are not about socialism. So like the closest you could get, which means usually where your vote will go, if you're a socialist, will be a Democrat. It's the best you got with the choice. Obviously, it's not perfect. They're not, as far as socialist standards, the Democrats aren't amazing, but they're the best you got of kind of the choices we have. So here's a related question. Come at me now. Everyone is gonna fight me more. We already knew you were into social. We've talked about it before. That much I remember. I guess I just assumed because of all of your other kind of points and things that you were specifically under the Democrat umbrella there. So let me see. Nope, no labels. I'm anti-label. Well, okay. Well, that's why I said so voting. So you're gonna vote probably. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But if you're gonna vote, you have to check a label. Maybe you don't identify yourself as the label. I like that. I'm a fan of that. I support that. But if you're gonna check a box, you're essentially a part of that group to some manner, like in some manner. You're agreeing with that label for the country, at least. Otherwise, it's just kind of semantics. But like you have to support somebody, or you don't vote at all. Hence Haiti. Yeah. I have a question though. I have a genuine question. Yeah, getting outside of the politics stuff, but maybe related to the politics stuff, because it makes a lot of us like kind of hopeless or feel like there's a lot of unrest and uncertainty in life at the moment. So the question is how do each of, I guess, whoever's willing to say, how do you deal with uncertainty? Just in general. Maybe it's uncertainty with the political climate. I have a hard time dealing with that uncertainty right now. Never in my life have I really given a shit. Now I do. And it's something that I like genuinely struggle with. Dealing with the absolute uncertainty in like the state of the country. But also just in general. I'm curious like what your specific process of dealing with that is. And then I'll kind of give mine. Because I think everybody kind of deals with that to a different degree. And I think there are very productive and very healthy ways of dealing with uncertainty that can be positive. And I think there's a hell of a lot of ways to deal with uncertainty that just damage you and they do not benefit you at all. And I feel like a lot of people kind of stumble into that side of it. And I think that's really sad. Rodriguez, I have checked the Independent since 2016. Well, fair enough. Yeah, the chat's on. You can join in there. I'm in there. Having someone to love and try to build up helps. Yeah. Like a spouse or just like someone in general? And build up what, I guess, specifically, out of curiosity? Like a spouse or just like someone in general? Oh, you got feedback. Can you turn it down a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. You're good now, I think.
Okay. Okay, I think, yeah.
Are you going to yell at me for calling you a Democrat?
No, I don't yell at anybody on here. If I yell, it'll be maybe at Ghost, but that's it.
Fair enough. Okay.
No. No, but I'm really not. I think the thing is I will push back whatever I think the majority is flowing towards. It just so happens, I think like 99% I picture 99% of you like Midwesterners, like, actually, I'm going to shut my mouth. We'll just say Republican. And so like sometimes when things are said, of course I'm going to push back. If this was a room full of Democrats, so to speak, then I would push back with that also.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's
Good
just
thing.
weird because biblically I'm actually conservative, but politically I'm not. So I don't know how that works. Shut up, Ghost. You do not hate Republicans. Anyways, in terms of like how do you cope or how do you handle the stuff with politics?
Well, no. So not just that, but maybe that as an example, but just uncertainty in general. But politics is like a good example because I feel like regardless of the party you're on right now or who you support, there's a lot of uncertainty. But just uncertainty in general. It doesn't have to be political at all.
Yeah, I think I know this sounds probably dumb and cliche, but I think it was like last week, maybe it was like a week ago, where it's maybe sounded like I was joking, but I was like, "Hey Joe, how's your blood pressure? Like, how are you doing? You seem stressed out." But I was like kind of being serious, and I just remember like way back in the day when I was like doing ministry stuff, I was getting hella stressed out and it was really, really bad. And I remember it just affecting me negatively and as a parent and just being paranoid all the time. And you're going to hate this analogy, but I felt like it was like a football game. And it's almost like God's like the quarterback and like all these issues and all these problems are like the football, right? And it's almost like you get the football to make the play and you're supposed to give it to the quarterback, which is God, and he's supposed to be, making the play or whatever, all that's supposed to happen. Like you're not supposed to hold on to the ball. You're not supposed to hold on to all that pain and agony. Like it's just not meant for you. It's meant for him. So it's more like, oh my gosh, God, I'm worried about this, or I see this and I don't see any hope or light at the end of the tunnel. Like, please, take care of this or take care of that. Or, I know I have really strategic prayers. Like my friend, she's still involved with the anti-sex trafficking ministry stuff. And I know there's lawsuits going on with so-and-so hub. I don't know what we're allowed to say on here.
Porn, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're screwed. Pornhub.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, but like I remember one of my prayers used to be like that God would actually, track down these organizations, track down the transactions, electronically expose, help, to be good, genuine detectives that are going to look where they need to look and not waste their time where they're going to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just kind of pray things that doesn't matter what it is politically or not. And I don't really know what else to do other than that. Maybe that's not good advice, but it's all I've got and it's kind of all I've done.
So I got like broken down then on a personal level for you. It's kind of just trying to transfer the worry or stress in a sense to God because you feel like it's his to handle anyways.
Yeah, it's almost like you see it, right? So like I know one of the things that I felt kind of, I guess, convicted of more recently is like, I don't pray very much or very often about the certain things that I used to, but I also kind of live in my bubble. And well, I'm also sick, so there's that. But if I'm not out there and educating myself and, you know, learning about different things, then I don't actually know what's going on. So I don't know that my prayers can be that strategic. You know what I mean? So, um,
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
yeah, so and I get really happy, like, I have like this oh Joe, you never followed me on Instagram. But I have like this little section like on my Instagram where I was like it's more for like a reminder, but like answered prayers. And a lot of it has to do with like sex crime stuff, you know. And I
Okay.
mean, and for years I've been praying for certain things to be exposed with the church, and that's happening, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Um and then now my prayers are honestly for just verdicts for people to be held accountable for their crimes. Um, you know, because that's a whole nother thing that we're seeing is, yeah, there's an exposure, but people are still not being held accountable. So
Yeah. No,
that's
I mean,
so
I
fun.
get that. So personally, it's, I guess a question would be like, how much is actually on the individual, and how much do you think gets displaced to God? Because the question for me is always like, I go through a horrific event, and I struggle with it and have problems. How much of it is on me to sit down and deal with the trauma or deal with whatever the event is and process it, and whatever that people journal or people see a psychiatrist or whatever. There's a lot of ways to do
Yeah,
it, but like the work
yeah.
of putting it in versus saying like, this is yours, you deal with it and let me know when we're good.
Um, yeah, I don't know that there's a concrete answer, but I do know I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm going through that personally. I had shared with you some of the things that my family went through, you know, way back in 2016, and I kind of dipped my toe back in it. I think it was like in 2019. And then I noticed I was getting triggered, and then I was like, okay, fuck this. I can't do this shit. So it's only been recently that I started doing the paperwork again. And it would be like a court advocate type thing for children who are being abused in every which way. And I'm supposed to be kind of like the watchman taking notes.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I would report back to the judge. And yeah, I mean, I used to throw up every time I went to court. So I would be going back to the same courthouse that I always went with my ex-husband. Um, so
Rough.
yeah.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah, but I think unfortunately it's trial and error. And then when it comes to like PTSD, I have to tell myself like this is just a memory of the pain. This isn't the actual
Yeah.
painful
Yeah. Yeah.
situation.
Do you think there are people who just completely ignore? Because that, to me, like that is some degree of work. That's you introspectively talking to yourself, you're reasoning with yourself that this is
Yeah.
not the same, yada yada. There are people who would just completely ignore it, which I would
Mhm.
argue is probably not healthy, and they'd say like, oh well, that's God's to deal with. Do you think there's any validity in that in terms of being healthy, or do you think there needs to be some kind of balance of like self-responsibility of going through things versus just like throwing them off and ignoring them?
Yeah, I mean, we all have our place in the body of Christ, right? And while I would try to be like this vigilante, you know, when it comes to justice and things like that, and I noticed some people weren't on board and I would get upset. And then I realized, like, okay, that's not their part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there was one person I know where she did great in homeless ministry. She was so, so good. And she would get mad that other people wouldn't help her out. But it's like if they don't have a heart for that area, you know, then that's just not where they're supposed to be. Like some of the elders too, like in the church, they're physically not out there doing stuff. So sometimes if you just go back and talk to them, they can pray the hell out of situations. You know what I mean? And there's
Yeah.
different seasons for different things. Like I said, I got sick, right? So I really had no choice but to kind of stay put and like be more introspective and heal and different things like that. So yeah, but if I'm going back out there and getting triggered, then, I gotta go heal up my wounds before I get back on the battlefield. So
Yeah, no, agreed. I think it's not
yeah.
good for anybody if you do that. Ghost, did you have something? I saw you popped in there.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I guess I could say I have a deep trust that everything will kind of work out if I do my part and what I can do. I don't think God requires us to do something that's impossible for us. And I pray for peace and more vague things like that. I don't try to pray for anything specific.
Why
To
is
just be content. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it works that way. It's more like just I will be content with whatever your plan is for me. I will do my part. I have a will, but at the same time, I just pray for my will to match God's will and not try to do the opposite,
Yeah. No, I totally know. Yeah. That was a big shift for me. Actually, for Lilith said, I try not to think too much about what I can't control. I guess I'm in denial. I think that's what she meant, at least at the end. That was a huge transition for me, like throughout my spiritual journey was like growing up in the normal, you pray for specific things. You pray like honestly, like as you get older, at least for me, ridiculous things. Like some of the things that were prayed for were, in my opinion now, and no disrespect to anybody, but I now think are just absolutely ridiculous to pray for them because it just like it says something about like who God is and like what God's priorities are to me. And it's the best example is like the parking spot. And people think it's a joke. It's not a freaking joke. I have heard you can go. I'm sure you can find if you search hard enough. Pastors in churches will literally in the past at least talk to people about praying for a parking spot, and that if you get the parking spot, God actually answered your prayer for the parking spot. To me, and again, no disrespect, but to me, that's fucking insane. That's crazy. That's like cuckoo shit. And there's no way I just have I don't want to talk shit, but I have a really hard time with hearing that. I have a really hard time then trying to have like an intelligent conversation with that same person. I have a really, really hard time with it. But beyond like that's, sort of silly example, I tend to agree with what you were saying because that's kind of where I've landed. I don't really pray too much for specifics other than like maybe for my daughter, but even then it kind of turns into like the youth. It's the youth. Like I hope that obviously my kid gets used for something fantastic, but even that like I don't think it has anything to do with God. I think it's entirely upon what I do with her and what her mom does with her and what Kat does with her. It's what is going to be fed into her. Like what are her influences? Because I feel like, and hate me, but I feel like if my kid grew up in a house where God was in, no way involved and they indoctrinated her into something else and they always treated her like shit and always fed her garbage and didn't teach her anything, I think all my prayers in the world are not going to do a damn thing for her because
That's not true.
I don't think that's how life works. I don't at all. At all. I don't think God would just magically that to me is like that's it's just a version of God I don't believe in, which is like this magic version where he would just like download all of this stuff into my kid regardless. I just don't believe that. I know a lot of people do. I'm just not one of them.
I don't believe that either.
Yeah, but I think, did I share what happened when my daughter was like hospitalized and how my younger one was praying for her?
Maybe, but is there any chance that it would have happened anyways? Would you, and it's not to downplay anything, but
Right. Let me. I'm gonna do my best to just kind of say it really quick. But
okay.
I was really mad that my daughter was in the hospital because we were also in the middle of like a custody battle, and when it came to medical decisions, it was a mess, and I was freaking out and I was mad. angry, and I didn't see any good of it. And I remember my youngest was praying like for all these different things and for God to somehow turn around and make this a very good situation, which there was no light whatsoever at the end of the tunnel. And in the hospital, my daughter befriended a girl. I can't remember her name. All I remember is that she had dyed blue hair. And they're not supposed to keep in touch, but they did. And I guess the girl that had blue hair had like some kind of Cinderella story. So like she was living with her stepmom, but her dad had died. And I guess the girl was like an atheist or agnostic. I don't know. She hated God. I do know that much. But she actually liked my daughter, my oldest daughter, and she felt she was really nice and genuine and cared. And so my daughter used to talk to her about God. And somewhere in all of that, the girl ended up accepting Christ. It was in the summer, and my daughter was crying because she hadn't heard from her after we had a big shooting in Vegas back in, I think it was 2021 or 2000. No. Anyway, 2017, 18, I don't know. And I guess she was a victim of one of the shootings. And that was in October, and she just got saved that summer prior. The little girl was like 16. It was at a concert. And my daughter, of course, was devastated, but I guess her father, I think the father died from being sick or something. And that's part of the reason why the girl was mad at God. And the dad's was Christian, and his prayer was that his daughter, would come to know Christ and love him. So he didn't get to see that happen. But I don't know, like, I can't help but think that God was in that prayer that seemed like it was nothing, was in the, fine details. Like, as painful as that day was when she went in the hospital and I saw no hope and I hated all of it, I am so grateful it happened. If that meant that little girl went to heaven and got to be reunited with her dad while answering the prayers of my daughter and her dad.
How was she exposed to the faith, the girl?
My daughter, Lillian, my oldest daughter.
There's a million
she met
in the
her
world.
in the hospital. I know, but I always have this rule where I don't give names, and I don't try to do that to my kids.
Yeah, it's a good rule.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, like, she didn't like Christians. She didn't like any of that, And so when she met my daughter in the hospital and they befriended each other, that's when she was having a positive experience with a Christian.
Yeah, sure. But I feel like you told the story very accurately. Your daughter, she did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say God, and this is what, I mean, if you listen to like the crap I put on Instagram, I talk about this a lot, where I don't think God does anything directly at this point, but I think he sure as hell uses people. I think people are influenced by God directly in some sense, and I have no clue how that works, but I have similar experiences. That's why, like, I get that. I get that aspect of it, and I totally agree with it because I've been through it personally. But I don't think God would just download that into a person. I think your daughter was heavily influenced, and a lot of that had to do with the way that you raised her. And it's this big chain effect of influence of people to people to people to people. And then that girl had that happen. I think the other thing, just realistically, is that there's probably another girl very similar to that girl who didn't. And her mom prayed for her every day diligently. Maybe her mom is a better Christian than the dad of the girl, So it's like, that's where I get caught. Is like, I don't like the fairy tale part of Christianity where like it defies all of that. But I also never want to discount shit like that because that's a big deal. But I also don't want to discount like you instilled that in your kids. Your kids, they kept that faithfulness and they had the foundation, and then they were able to share it with other people.
Yeah, but Joe, they're like, when you're talking about middle schoolers and teenagers, I know yours is still little, but evangelism is not something they do. They don't go around telling people about Jesus. It's not cool. It's not like, I don't even, and technically my daughter would not have been a good testimony of that at that point in her life,
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So I don't know. Like,
Well, did your daughter
I
talk to her
don't
about God or no?
No, yeah, she did. That's what I'm saying. She had, because I think at the time I was going to college, so she would actually poke through and grab some of my books and ask me some questions, and I didn't know what was going on. And the girl even went as far as like downloading a devotional app, downloading a Bible app.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
sometimes it's just one thing, and honestly, in my opinion, people who don't do evangelism, quote unquote,
right.
I see them do actually very successful work because they just talk to people. You just talk to them, especially like
Yeah.
the just the further we get from those days where like evangelism on the street did it for people. I think that's like the last thing that will do it for someone today. I think
For
probably
sure.
your daughter, who's probably a down to earth girl, she's probably cool. She just talked to her, and the conversation, like I have way more throughout my life of ministry, I've had way more success with just sitting down with someone and being like, "What the fuck is going on?" and like having just a very real conversation, and also ask me a question, and then they ask a question, and I tell them about it, and I speak the way I normally speak, and there'd be no bullshit and no trying to do evangelism, but just community, like conversation. I don't know, but I get what you're saying, and I grasp
This
that
was,
side of it all for sure.
yeah, this was a mental hospital, Joe. Everyone in there was either self-harm or suicidal, and all these different things. And my daughter was no different. So,
Yeah.
if anything, it's not like she was she wasn't doing well. So I don't even know how any of that could have happened. But
I mean,
I
regardless
mean,
of
if you,
who's right, it's a beautiful thing, no
I
matter
mean, if
what.
the other thing too that I do is like fleece prayers, like, with the dew, that story in the Bible.
Yeah.
Um,
You do fleece prayers?
yeah, um, like, okay, if I'm praying to God about, hey, should I or should I not do something? Like, I'll actually pray for anxiety. Lord, if I'm
Yeah.
going in the wrong direction, I
Yeah.
pray that you would just overwhelm like my spirit with anxiety so I know it's not from you.
I probably pray for that
You
more
know?
than anything else. On a personal level,
Yeah.
is like, please plague me with some bullshit that will make this
Yeah.
aware.
Right.
Yeah.
Or press something firm on my heart that,
Hmm.
I don't know. But
For sure. For sure. I want to read Ruth's comment. She said, God's will. I was brought up with a complex about wondering what God's will for me is. For all I know and understand that it is to love my neighbor as myself. God didn't give a spirit of fear, but of sound mind. I used to live in so much fear of the unknown until one day I learned to change my mind and think better. I I'm I'm probably on like the far end of like the self reliance spectrum of where I sit with it is a little bit outside of what is true, like within a Christian perspective. I I realize that, I recognize that, and it's something I'm very aware of, and it's something that I ponder regularly. But I put like almost all of the responsibility on people, which again, like I realize may be wrong. It could very well be wrong. And maybe I need to put a little bit more faith in God. I have a very hard time with that. I think
yeah.
people need to be responsible for their shit. I think, and even beyond that, I think we need to be responsible to each other. So when bad things happen to people or somebody goes through something horrific, I don't have any desire to be like, oh, God didn't answer a prayer or I just think it's ridiculous. I think people could have probably stopped that. If you weren't a piece of shit and if I wasn't being lazy that day, we probably could have made that not happen. And
I agree.
it's so easy to just be like, oh, I guess that prayer wasn't answered. I guess it wasn't God's will. And like the other side of that is that maybe it fucking wasn't. And that's why that's so difficult. Because maybe you didn't get that job or whatever stupid thing it was, or maybe big thing that's very significant. But maybe this is happening to you because it is God's will. And maybe it's happening to you because people are failing around you. And that's like the hard part about it. And I think that's where like the initial question of like how to how do you have contentment and like peace really truly and not get caught up in these types of things. I struggle with
I
it a
think,
lot because I don't know exactly
yeah.
how much is the responsibility of people and how much is the responsibility of God. I have a hard time with it personally.
You know what? I think maybe if you ask God to kind of like show you, like, hey God, if this is real, you know, like I said, one of those fleece things. Because now that we're having this conversation, and it's important for me, I guess, to have this conversation, because lately I've been feeling like you, like, why the fuck do I even pray for healing? Like, you know, or this doctor's appointment or this bullshit, you know. Yeah, so I totally get that, but I also remember this one time where like it's actually the same woman that I was telling you guys about, like with the homeless ministry. And she was a new Christian, you know how they are, you know, super bright-eyed and like ecstatic and everything. Um and she was new at everything, prayer included. And I remember when she started this homeless ministry, she was trying to collect clothes for everybody, and she got them in different conditions, you know, and she was struggling financially. And one of the things she prayed for was laundry detergent. And as weird as this sounds, I felt, and I didn't know that, but as weird as it sounds, I felt like I should give her laundry detergent. Like I just had this thought, like, oh, I should get her laundry detergent. And I kept having that thought on and off for a couple weeks, maybe almost like 2 months. So finally I did it, and I got it and I gave it to her. And she's like, oh my gosh. I've been praying to God for laundry detergent for a while, and I didn't think he heard me, and I didn't think he cared. And I ended up just buying it myself, and I was like skeptical, and I was like, gosh, you
Yeah.
know, like, and I know that sounds like, but I don't know what to tell you.
You
I
hear
don't
it all
know
the
anything
time, though.
behind it.
You hear it all the time,
Yeah.
though. Yeah. No,
But
I
that's
hear it all the
my own
time.
experience. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't have my experience, so that's what I'm saying. If you pray for your own experiences or for you to see, like, I'll pray for things and I forget, you know, and then the answer comes and I'm like, fuck, what did I pray for again? You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, you hear it all the time, and I hear it from people that obviously like I trust them. I don't think they're crazy or anything. And I've had similar things happen for sure, which is
Right.
it's the only reason
Right.
I believe in divinity from that end to begin with. I wonder how much of that perhaps is still just God working through you. So you have a connection to God, and I'm
Once
sorry
upon a
if this no, but you still do. It's just it ebbs and flows in natural phases of life. But this might upset some people and whatever. But I think some people, just the reality is a lot of people are closer to God than other people who are Christian. We talk about it a lot. I talk shit a lot, and I'm sorry about it, but not really. But I think a lot of that is directly correlated to how much effort and work you put into it. I don't think anybody, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody really is just bestowed with this magical relationship with God. I just don't buy that shit. You can disagree with me. It's totally fine. We can still be friends. But I don't believe that. I think that in if nothing else, my own personal life has showed me this, because when I do ebb and flow, when I'm in the ebb portion,
right,
and I'm not connected actively, and like I'm not praying actively, and I'm not being responsible, and I'm not like putting genuine work in, I don't feel connected to God. Honestly, half the time, total transparency, I fucking forget. I forget it. I
Yeah.
forget God exists half the day, if not a full day or several days. It just doesn't even dawn on me because I'm that disconnected. It's been a long time since that, but like there were absolutely phases of my life where he wasn't even a thought. It wasn't a thought. And then you don't notice
Yeah.
anything. But then there are other phases where like it's all I can think about all day long. And in one sense or
Right.
another, and it's in those phases of flow where genuinely I feel like I see God moving in things all of the time. But for me, it's still always through a fucking person. Always. So it'd be like you, Rodriguez, would come on and I remember one specifically, I can't remember which one it was, but when we like first started doing this, way back when it was like 4 of us on here, 5 of us maybe. You had said something to me one day, and it was one of those moments where like it was something that I had been reeling about for like weeks, thinking about it, and you said it completely fucking oblivious to what you were saying. You were just saying what you wanted to say. And
Probably.
it was exactly probably. It was exactly though. It was exactly the shit.
Maybe I had a cocktail in my hand or something.
But it was it. It was it. It was it. And I had been
Yeah.
super connected. And you are somebody who, even in ebbs and flows, like you have a relationship with God, and it's people working through people. I think that all of it boils down to that, because I just can't make sense of how God works directly. And I feel like every story, even the stories you've told tonight, they're all people. So I don't want to take the credit away from the people. Those people, in most cases, work to have a relationship with God. They put the time in, and they care, and they're diligent and genuine enough that, like, God gives them whatever the information or the thought or the laundry detergent thing. You're given that because you can be trusted with it, and then you are to give that sometimes unknowingly to somebody
I
else who really
wasn't.
needs it.
I was late as usual. I'm always fucking
Because you
late.
thought it. You said you kind of second guessed it, right? Wasn't that what you said?
Yeah, because I just thought that was a weird thing. I was like, I'm not
Exactly.
gonna show up to
Yeah.
this person's house. Like, that's fucking weird.
So in a sense, you weren't faithful with it. And I would probably wouldn't have been either. I'd be like, this is fucking stupid. I'm not gonna do that. And then I would have learned too that, like, shit, I should have done that. But I just think, every story I hear essentially boils down to people. But then I think also, like, at the same time, the worry, the concerns, the emotions that come with external issues, I think those are not for you. In almost every case, they're not for you. You should deal with them.
Yeah.
But if you can't control something, you can't control something. And I think it's really emotionally immature to have something happening in your life that you have absolutely no control over, and to let that affect you at all, which is much easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
Yeah. I mean, and I get what you're saying too about, like, oh, it's people doing it. Because I remember my cousin saying that all the time, because she's not a Christian. She's like, no, that's not God. This is you. Blah 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 blah. But I think that sometimes when you're hard pressed on certain things, and you know your character, you know who you are as a person, and other shit just happens, and you're like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way, that was me or this person. Like, there's no other explanation,
What's you under influence?
What do you mean?
Well, if it's still you, like you're saying, there's no way it's me that would have. It is you. Like, if you say something to someone and it's still you, but you're being influenced, right? I mean, it's coming out of your mouth, or it's coming out of your body, or whatever the situation is. It's still you.
Okay, you're thinking of something good. I'm thinking of something bad. So,
okay.
I know me as a mother, I don't know, there's something about when you become a parent that there's like this horrible dark side that you never knew existed in humanity that becomes a part of you if something happens to your child, right?
Okay, sure, yeah.
I mean, you talked about violence before, and I remember one time I had my kid in a stroller. It's when I first moved here, and I hated it. And there was some idiot driver who almost like bumped our stroller while we were crossing the street. And I don't know what happened, but I snapped. And I remember slamming my hands on the hood of this person's car and saying, what the F is wrong with you? And this person said something, I don't remember what. And I was like, I will rip your head off and wear it as a hat. And immediately as I said it, I was kind of like, holy shit, I didn't completely know I was capable of saying that. I've never seen that. I've never heard of that. That's sick, right? But I know how I am, right? And then to have some horrible things happen to my kid and that other person still be alive. Like,
yeah.
And honestly, if anything, I was looking for the rage. I was trying to feel the hatred and to go after that person. Like, and hell, I would have been justified.
And that brings in a whole nother thing of the whole demon conversation or
know that it's demonic. I felt was like I was in a bubble of protection and I didn't want to be there because this person didn't deserve to not have what I was going to unleash,
Interesting.
And I didn't want the protection. Like, I know that sounds so weird. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, other than I know that was God, because I'm not fucking that nice, especially if you fuck with my kid. or anyone else's. And I'm not sorry. I will sleep like a baby, but I'm going to stop
I mean,
saying anything else.
definitely grasp
More.
it from the parenting aspect. Kelly Hoffer, who I don't recognize, so if you're still here, lovely to meet you, said, I pray for God to give me strength to handle a situation, to be with me and guide me, basically give me the tools to help myself or someone else. Which is kind of, it's kind of the dominant theory that seems to be thrown around. And that was a good synopsis, I guess I would say, of kind of how I feel for the most part too. And then God works through people, so we already know God's will on the macro. We just don't know on the micro. That is only revealed in hindsight. I don't disagree with that. The nature of linear time. Ruth said some people think it's God's will to eat a certain way, and I'm like, what? God micromanaged our lives? Yeah, well, I guess to be the asshole, he kind of did. For if you're Islamic or if you're Jewish, he kind of did. So I mean, in a sense, yeah. If you're Christian, no. Which is we're gonna talk about when we go back to Bible study in chapter 10 of what we're reading right now. The topic of food comes up, and if certain foods are allowed to be eaten within certain contexts. But he technically did tell people what to eat. The Abrahamic God did do that. False dichotomy, it's both. I assume that's when I was talking about how much is God and how much is people. Maybe not, though. I think so. When you order a coffee at Starbucks, are you ordering the cup or the coffee? Arguing over cup or coffee is a waste of time. Fair enough. That's fair enough. We are the vessels that carry out God's will, and maybe some of them to aliens. So that's the question, though, is that's the question, though. The question, though. We are the vessels that carry out God's will. Fine. But does everybody agree that you have free agency? Yes or no? Because if you have free agency, that means you have the right and the ability to deny the will. So at any point, if God tells Rodriguez to get laundry detergent for a lady at a homeless shelter or at a women's shelter or whatever, Rodriguez, in my opinion, she proved that you have the right and the agency to not obey the will. And then for me, and this is why my brain wants to blow up, then I think about all of the implications of that. Okay, if Rodriguez didn't do that, that girl didn't get the laundry detergent. And so that girl didn't have kind of that magical moment of, I've been needing laundry detergent. I've been thinking about it for weeks. Rodriguez just handed it to me. Then they had a whole conversation about how, oh my God, like God put this on my heart for like 2 months. And now I'm finally giving it to you. It's like, obviously we both received these from God. And then that moment for the girl who got the laundry detergent then takes that out into the world because now she's reinvigorated and like has this odd feeling of like God is real. And then she affects somebody else and then it affects somebody else. And then it's all this trickle effect of all of it just happening.
And she's a baby Christian, so it's almost like these are like the building blocks for her faith, right?
Yes. So what the implications of free agency are really, really good, but they're also absolutely catastrophic. And I think that's why Christianity sits where it does.
I wonder if it's both.
What do you mean? Well, it's definitely both, right?
Like I said, I've been sick and I try everything for healing, right? And then you hear about positive vibes, right? Or you've seen these experiments of people just talking to plants and saying bad shit to it, the fucking thing dies, or you say good shit to it and it lives, or what the fuck ever. And there's science to back this shit up. So yeah.
I mean,
then I wonder how much of it is. I mean, I know there's so many Christians that are going to hate me for saying, anything about vibes or manifesting.
It's energy.
But yeah.
I think actually, like around us here, I think most of us agree to it with some point. I know Ghost is not a denier of energy being a real thing. I think maybe we would all interpret it maybe and explain it in a different way. But I think science and spiritual groundedness makes it very hard to deny the existence of energetic forces.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, please.
So I think energy and information are two different things. And I think God's will isn't that specific. I don't think God's thinking about laundry detergent. I think God told us to love our neighbor, and he gave us the faculties to put two and two together on how to do that.
Yeah,
That's all.
100%. So the question in the context then is how would you explain all of the cases like Rodriguez is saying, where
Yeah, because I used to
it's
agree
something
and
random.
what you did.
It's something
Yeah.
random. Laundry detergent, a Snickers bar. I mean, you hear them all over the place. So is it just coincidence, which is possible? And it's honestly usually where I lean with these things. Is like coincidence happens. If a woman needs like normal toiletry type things, and I think of one of those possible things, and I get it for her, and it's like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. Like there's a relatively decent statistical probability that it's just a coincidence. If you added all of them up,
What's a coincidence?
that she needed laundry detergent as a specific thing, and Rodriguez, for whatever random reason from her end, thought of it? Or do you think there's a more explainable reason beyond just that? But I hear these stories all the time, being like working in the church for years. You hear this constantly, and I've always just thought people are like reading way too much into it. But what would kind of your answer for it be then?
Oh, you mean like thinking of the laundry detergent without a prompt? Is that
exactly?
Well, the plasma stuff, man. I don't know. The stuff that like I mean I'm half joking, but I think it is something like that.
Yeah.
Where we're swimming in a Wi-Fi network, and if something needs to be known, it can be known, but it's done in such a way that there's no fingerprint. It's like you're not going to be able to know exactly why you had a certain thought, but I think that's why I opened with information and energy are two different things. The energy is what allows the information to be transmitted, but it's not the information in and of itself.
So you think it's more plasma than it is God?
Well, no, because I don't see them. I think God is the information, and the plasma is the highway in which that information travels.
Yeah.
So in short, the answer is yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, God is a multi-layered thing. It's not just like, I guess that's yes.
I mean, like, I get how crazy it sounds. That's why I don't like saying a lot of this stuff. But like I said, these are just my experiences, and then all the stuff is.
Well, how does inspiration work? I think that's how it works.
You know what? I think this is I don't know how to explain it to you. Maybe Joe, but I kind of feel like wherever it is you feel like God is speaking to you resides in whatever place it is inside of us of like parental instinct. You know what I'm talking about?
All that stuff there.
Like it's in the same spot where it's like, you know, maybe your kid's too quiet and you go over and you find out they're choking on a piece of something, you know, and you just had this weird intuition. Wherever that place is, wherever that resides, I feel like
that resides in the soul. Yeah, I agree.
I was gonna say, yeah. I think like maybe even for other people who aren't parents, take the parental part out of it, but but I totally agree with you on the parental aspect to be clear. But I think in like inspiration, the intuition, I mean, you hear inside and outside of spiritual people, you have this all over the place, but you just had a feeling that, you know, a woman walking to her car just has a feeling. And so she goes back inside, and then come to find out someone was right around the corner or something, like ready to jump her ass. It's all the time. And yeah, I think Christians just immediately attribute that to God, and normal people will immediately attribute it to a coincidence or just call it intuition or the universe, and they refuse to explain anything beyond that because rational reality just kind of can't. I'd be interested, and I don't know, but I'd be interested to see, like, how does science explain that? I'm sure they've had to, right? Like the scientific community has had to explain this in some way. And I'm sure it boils down to something that's probably bullshit. But I think from my perspective, it goes to like the soul. But then it pulls us to the same conversation of, okay, so how does that work? Are you being communicated with through the soul? Like, I think it's tough with Ghost because he has a whole different foundation for how it works. The plasma being the highway, God being, you know, a layer of it. Whereas I think most Christians view God is like this always everywhere cloud that has some kind of like direct hardwire line to your body, and then you get these feelings. And
Well, I think that
But
too.
I
I
think,
just use different
yeah,
language.
I was just gonna say, I think Ghost basically says the same thing. He's just explaining the, micromechanics of the whole quantum physics thing. Like, because right, there's a lot of things we can't understand why certain cells do certain things to make you heal or get sick or whatever. So I think he's just kind of going more that angle. But one of the things that I remember that came to mind was this verse in Second Kings. Fuck, now I gotta find it right. I think it was Second Kings where there's like this, I don't know, court meeting in heaven.
Hell
And
yeah.
there's some issue there's like some issue going on with like a prophet. And I guess the prophet needed to somehow trick the people, but the prophet was always going off of what God said. And I guess this council of spiritual beings in heaven or whatever, wherever it is, maybe Ghost, you can tell me, but I guess part of the plan was for them to send a lying spirit to the prophet. So basically, it would prophesy a lie.
Not to Micaiah, to the prophets of Ahab, the people he
No.
was listening to.
I'm going to find it now. Hang on. I know, I shouldn't
It
even
was
brought it up.
essentially
But
I think it's, I can't remember the verse, but yeah.
Watch it not even be in Kings. Watch it be like in Chronicles or something.
It's in 2 different books, actually.
Okay, then it might be both of those.
Yeah. The same stories repeated, kind of.
Oh, First Kings chapter 22. Oh, and Second Chronicles.
All right, here.
I think it's a pretty important verse.
Which
verses?
You got to read the whole thing, though, Joe. You kind of read like one verse, but I don't know. I just know it's somewhere in there.
Sure. Ahab killed at. No, that's too far, right?
I don't know. I gotta go OG. And
So
just
slightly before Ahab was killed. It's kind of how Ahab was killed.
Maybe 20, First Kings 22, verse 20 or something like that.
All right, let me see. Well, 19. Micaiah continued, therefore, hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne with all the multitudes of heaven standing around him on his right and on his left. 20 is, and the Lord said, who will entice Ahab into attacking Ramoth Gilead and going to his death there? Is this before or after?
No, it's good. You keep going.
Okay, one suggested this and another that. Finally, a spirit came forward, stood before the Lord, and said, I will entice him. 22. By what means? The Lord asked. I will go out and be a deceiving spirit in the mouths of all his prophets. You will.
Yeah.
Is this right?
Yeah.
Okay. You will succeed in enticing him, said the Lord. Go and do it. So now the Lord has put a deceiving spirit in the mouths of all of these prophets of yours. The Lord has decreed disaster for you. Then Zedekiah, son of Kenana, went up and slapped Micaiah in the face.
They are so ghetto. That's okay. Go ahead.
Which way did the spirit from the Lord go when he went from me to speak to you? He said. Micaiah replied, you will find out on the day you go to hide in an inner room. The king of Israel then ordered, take Micaiah and send him back to Ammon, the ruler of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and said, this is what the king says. Put this fellow in prison and give him nothing but bread and water until I return safely. Micaiah declared, if you ever return safely, the Lord has not spoken through me. Then he added, mark my words, all you people.
Yeah, that's essentially it. You know what that reminds
It
me
goes
of?
more
Like a
into
spy
detail.
operation.
A what operation?
Like a CIA disinformation campaign. It reminds me of that.
A bit, yeah. I get that.
Like,
go deceive all these people so we can win.
Wait, where does it say? So now there was something else where, because I remember keep reading like the prophet like freaks out, like what the fuck, like this is what I heard, and I feel bad for him.
Do not fight with any small or great except for the king. This moves on though, doesn't it? Isn't this past? I guess what was the specific point that you guys were trying to pull here?
How God speaks and communicates and gets things done through us.
Okay.
And if it's
Through
him or if
vessels.
it's wives or yeah, other stuff or the universe or spirit guide, whatever. Well, it sounds like, I guess there is a spirit guide, right? To some degree.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Bible disagrees with my view of that, of all of this. But then you can
But look at this whole conversation.
Yeah, for
like,
sure. But
this
it's
whole
one.
thing is weird.
But it's one.
And of all things, look at that 23. So now the Lord had put a deceiving spirit in the mouths, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, people like that sounds not like something God would do.
What do you mean? God was doing shit like this all the time.
No, I know, but you know how people like you've got like those super, holier than thou. I'm not gonna lie and say this, like because God wouldn't lie. And then, well, let's pull this one up.
Yeah, but that's the. I mean, it's the thing we kind of complain about a lot is that the Bible.
It's not that God was lying though. He told one of the spirits to go lie so that an evil king could be destroyed.
He was in cahoots with all of it. So I mean, it's right there.
But it's
I mean, we're pawns in a game.
It's
I don't like that word. I don't like that phrase. But
I mean, I know, but it is what it is.
It
doesn't mean it's evil.
It's verbiage people don't like, but it's I mean, it has to be accurate. So like,
we're hosts, we're vessels.
Call it whatever you want, but it's.
Well, there's a trial, so maybe we're part of some witnesses and all this other BS. But I don't like games. But
yeah, I mean, take the word, take game.
We're part of this court case. Yeah,
there's other things happening that we are oblivious to. At least I think so. Other people disagree. I think we're oblivious to it, at least for the most part. But yeah, we play a part in it. And the Bible makes very clear, though, from reading it straight to face, that God does directly do things in the world. I've talked about why I argue that all the time, is that you see a definitive decrease in God's direct action with humanity if you read the Bible chronologically as time goes on. God is less and less and less and less and less involved directly with humanity. I would love to be argued with about it because I'm absolutely convinced of it and I'm open to being proven wrong.
So Joe, when you say less,
yeah,
what compared to what?
From the start. So,
but how do you know it wasn't always like this?
Because the Bible, bro.
Because the Bible. The way it's depicted, at least. The way it's depicted. And then
the way it's explained, okay.
The way the stories are explained, and then it takes you into, okay, well, is it literal or not? Like, you could argue Genesis is probably the most whimsical part of the Bible. Like, magic, when related to, like, our reality that we're used to and that we're comfortable with. Genesis is wildly magical, to use that word. I don't take Genesis as the literal. So it's not necessarily where I even start that. But it kind of adds to the theory if you do take it literal. I just don't. I don't think that's literally how creation started. I think it's a way to try to express it so that we understand it. I think
it's an allegory.
Yeah, it has links to reality, but most Christians would argue with you on that. It's literal. Well, okay, that just adds validity to the fact that from the start, chronologically, not the way your Bible actually reads, but chronologically, God is less and less involved. He does a lot of direct shit, and then he doesn't. And then he does nothing. Then he does nothing. And just people
do you think
do things.
God is less and less involved? Or do you think, I know we talked, I don't know when it was, a couple weeks ago about, us being connected to, things spiritually or soul or whatever the hell it is, and how our ancestors were better at it than we are today? Could it be that?
I think it's evil.
Could you give an example of God doing something directly?
What do you mean?
This one right here, this verse.
What, Rodriguez?
This verse is God doing something directly. There's a whole meeting. We got like the freaking.
Yes, but God is omnipresent and he's using agents to carry out his will. So it's always been that way.
What's the burning bush? What's the sticks to snakes?
The agent would be the angel of the Lord. It's never like God like saying, "Hey guys, here I am," unless it's the angel of the Lord.
The flood?
No, the theophany. No. Yeah, there's things like the
Okay,
burning
so the
bush
flood would be the
or
one. Yeah, I agree. That's the one thing.
But it's not the one. All right, I'll try to
Yeah.
gather some stuff then. I don't think that's at all the one. I think there's a lot more.
I could be overlooking something.
I'll try to put some together then. I mean, this would be a good
I don't know that I
conversation.
see any theophany stuff, after Jesus was born, though. I think that's like
It's as if God almost doesn't exist after Jesus.
no, I think he just kind of changes.
Into what?
I don't know. I just think he changes the language and how he's speaking. That's all. I don't know. That's how he keeps us on our toes in this court hearing.
I guess I'm of the unpopular opinion that not a whole lot has changed. But
And why do you say that, I guess?
because I think it was he always did things through agents. And I think the agents are the planet is an
That's
agent.
fair.
I think stars are an agent. I think aliens are agents, and I think we're agents.
So
maybe even animals.
All he did in your perspective is create the earth and people.
No.
No, I think he created everything.
Like he's like the puppet master.
Okay, but he created everything and then he bowed out. And now everything is done through some kind of agent.
No.
He didn't bow out because agents require messaging.
No, but directly. So God does nothing directly.
No.
I'm trying to grasp your perspective so that because I think this would be something good to get into. I think it'd be interesting. Thursday's already taken, but maybe next Thursday we can do this one. So what God creates Earth, he creates everything surrounding that topic. But after Earth has started, people are reproducing, shit is going horrifically wrong. He doesn't do anything directly at all. Or does he?
No.
Well, earlier in the comments, I left a comment saying God's only actual will is to maintain as many healthy vessels as possible. That's why he
solely his
said
will?
everything he said. Because without vessels, there's no reality, there's no thing. The reality exists, the universe exists, but there's no agency to carry out will.
Why would he be about Christian martyrs then? Like maybe not him, but why do you think Christian martyrdom became relatively popular for a time? Why would Christians
because
be
martyrdom
willing
is
so
a way
happily
to spread
lie?
a message.
More demonstrative, yeah.
But you lose a vessel. So is the message more important than the vessel?
Every game requires sacrifice to get to win or to you're sacking one person to gain 20 or gain 100 or
No.
I know,
think
but
we're
I'm
all part
saying
of the body. We're all
that's
part
what
of
it
the
is.
body of Christ. No. We're all part. I'm the only woman on here. I need another chick, so it doesn't sound so cutthroat. But no, I think we're just all part of the body of Christ, right? And we're supposed to be doing these things. That's what he told us to do, right? That's part of
we're
the
supposed
Great
to.
Commission. That's part of
But why did he tell us to do that?
I don't fucking know. It's right there in Matthew.
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain.
Well,
he told us to do it. Why else would he tell us to be fruitful and multiply and to be healthy and to maintain your temple and all these things and to love your neighbor? Why would he tell us all that? Arbitrarily or for a purpose?
Obviously for a purpose.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So what else could it be?
I don't know. Love?
Exactly. That's all about maintaining the vessels. You can't maintain your temple if you hate it.
But okay.
If you hate something, you can't maintain it and take care of it. So
why does
of
the
course
body
love.
matter? Why does it matter? At all?
Because we're God's nervous system. I don't know.
we're the body of Christ. That's what it is.
Do you think how you take care of the physical temple has any interaction with the soul?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
After the time of death. Sorry.
Yeah, because all of our memories, the way what we did, how we did things,
Yeah, fair. Okay, I was just curious because otherwise it doesn't really add up to me. But yeah, that clicks for me.
We have to be healthy in order to generate memories and to impact others' lives.
Yeah.
We can't do that if we're unhealthy. So
No,
it all connects. It's all
we're
pretty
not
practical.
Peasants is what we are, Ruth said. I agree with that. I'm on the peasant track.
We're more healthy as humanity. I was going to say progress, but maybe it's more like regress.
Yeah, we've certainly regressed in a lot of ways. I mean,
And
ever
then God
since the
made
fall,
fruit
it's been a
like-
regression.
Yeah.
We can progress with technology and stuff, but like spiritually, it's kind of inverted almost. It's like the more technology increases, the more spirituality decreases or gets perverted in some way.
That goes back to what I was saying. So is it that God's pulling out more and not being more involved, or is it just that we're not as connected?
I don't think God is pulling out. I think he's saying, hey, if you want to do this, the natural consequence is I'm not going to be with you. But he's not pulling out saying, bye, guys. It's more of like a cause and effect thing, I think.
I think it's cause and effect too, but I guess I see how it functions different. And I've explained it before, so I'm not going to again. But basically, I think the more humanity connects with the other side of that, I don't think they can be in the same space. And I think we've all disagreed on this in the past, so we don't. And honestly, I gotta go. But I don't think personally that God can exist in a space where evil abounds or is in control. I don't think God is in control as much as most Christians do. I just don't. I think evil, and I think the Bible kind of attests to the fact that the earth is not under the control of God. I don't think that it is. I think it's a weird thing to say, honestly. But I understand I'm in the vast minority of that. But I think the more humans connect, the more human souls connect with that which is evil, I think that forcefully makes it just a literal impossibility for God to be as engaged. Yeah, I know you disagree. I'm saying what I think is that it makes it impossible for him to engage the way that he was before, which adds to my whole theory of everything else. But I gotta run. But I think we should talk about this at some point because that would be interesting. My whole theory. This time I'll lay out a theory. Ghost can try to pick it apart, and we can kind of see where we get with that. Because
that sounds fun.
It'll be good. My theory is God got less involved over time. I've said it before, so again, I'm not going to run through it, and we'll run through it the day of. But I'll start trying to gather some stuff for it. This Thursday, we are talking about marriage. Basically, if men are not acting as the head of the household, do women need to submit to men? I say no, they don't. And I'm super traditionalist. Rodriguez says yes, they do. And she's relatively traditional too. In most senses, I was saying it right. She's mostly traditional in a biblical sense. But we have had disagreements on relational type things. So I don't know. That'll be good too. But maybe next Thursday we can do a timeline of God and how and when he interacts with humanity. And I'll try to make a case, and Ghost will try to break me down. And we'll see. We'll see. I'm very open to being wrong. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, me too.
Beautiful. All right, I'm out. Everybody have a lovely evening.
You too. Bye.
Good night.